Happy Friday. I am here to talk about our oracle message for the weekend, which was forgiveness. Yay! And I think the good news is that I don't foresee, well, let's just put it this way. I usually, when I see the forgiveness card, I'm like, oh great, what am I going to need to forgive? But I don't think that it's going to be a fresh forgiveness. I think the message came through, and the written post will be included in the video description below if you're here on YouTube, which I believe this is the only place you can find this video, so exclusive. But yeah, so I'll post that. So read that message because it will be completely different from what I'm talking about as I'm riffing. But yeah, so we have forgiveness. And the one thing I did want to mention from that is that I think that sometime over the weekend, we will have an epiphany or an insight about who, what, whatever it is that we need to forgive, and like for what and how to do it. So I think that we're gonna have like some real, like a breakthrough, as they say in therapy. I think we're gonna have a breakthrough, and I think you're gonna have like some insight, and hopefully me too. I hope we all have some big insight and like awakening about how to really get to turn over like a new leaf, or just like get the hook out. Finally get that hook out, cut the cords, like release, be cleansed of it, whatever the lingering things that have built up over time. I think that those are the obstacles that are like our final like block as we are moving into this like new cycle of this new chapter of our life and this new energy. And some of the astrological people and readers that I follow have pointed out that we aren't actually in the new lunar year yet. That's in April, or I think it's the lunar year. There's another new year that starts according to the astrological chart, because Aries is the first one. So that will be sort of a new feeling of starting over. And I don't know if you know about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but that whole holiday is about forgiveness, and it is also coincides with the Jewish New Year. So it's about a fresh slate, starting over, like stepping up and like literally going to bed one night and waking up and being renewed and just going into a new day. There's a Hebrew word called Teshuva, and I think that it means something about like to come, it's like repentance, but it's not like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so horrible. It's more like to correct yourself, to get back on the path, to a return, to what is a return to the path, a return to the right direction. So this whole thing, it's not just about forgiveness being what we give to others, but there's also a great gift that we receive in forgiving others, and also seeking atonement for our own self. And it's like when you're in the essence of something, you're in the vibration of it, and so you're going to be giving and receiving of it. It's because you're vibrating with it, so it's going to be coming and going. You're radiating it, and it is all around you. So if you're in the vibration of forgiveness, in order to get there, you can't just take forgiveness and not give any, because then you won't be in that vibration of forgiveness anymore. People will not forgive you. They'll hold grudges against you if you don't give it. So vibrate with forgiveness, open the blocks to giving and receiving, right? Because we've been talking recently about opening the heart, knowing that it's safe for you to love, because it's not that you can just block off your heart to a specific category. You can't compartmentalize. Your heart is like the information highway between like the head, like your idea and creativity coming. So it's the intersection of idea and creativity. That's where the heart is. Everything flows through it. So if you shut yourself off to, people from romantic love, it will affect you in your friendships and familial and maybe even work relationships. It could affect your work. It will shut you down from all the things that you love, that you're in vibration of love with in your life, right? So that can be the same, can be said for harboring hard feelings and resentments, and not like holding debts. You know, there's such a, forgiveness is such like a wide, it's such a broad term, but there's so many levels of it, of the ways that you can perceive forgiveness, and just kind of think of it as like trying to not even the score in a tit for tat way, but like level the scales in more of the giving and sacrificing way, leveling the playing field. Yeah, so I think that whatever that accumulative unforgiveness right now is blocking our metaphysical arteries, it's causing a blockage. And so we need to let go of all of that tar and that soot that is building up, because it is acting as lead and it's just holding us down from life. So we want to get all that clean and clear before the new year really starts. And so we still have a couple of months. We still have a couple of months left to forgive everyone in your life, whoever harmed you or wronged you. Forgive yourself of everything you ever did. Let go of debts. But yeah, so one thing that I wanted to say is that we can forgive the expectations that we have and that we hold on to about ourselves, about others, the stories that we tell ourselves, about who we are, about what we do, about who everybody else is and what they do. I think it, like, specifically, like, let your, in order to start doing father healing, I had to forgive my father the debt of being my father, because what I saw other people's fathers that were like the ones that I was paying attention to, the dads that I wanted, like the Steve Martin from Father of the Bride, was not my dad, not at all. And so I was only ever seeing him through the hermeneutic lens of what he lacked for me and what he wasn't. And so in order to be able to get over that idea that I lost something that I never had, you know, I had to mourn that and let it go and just be like, okay, stop looking at my dad as an archetypal idea of what I think a father needs to be, and just look at him as this man that I know. Like, even let him off the hook of being like my family. No pressure, just a man. He is a man that I know. I definitely know him. He's definitely a man. But it gives you this sense where you can see your parents as more just universal people and get them off the pedestal that disappoints you so much in the first place. They're just people with like their own problems and their own insecurities and their own crazy parents that that were also upset that they were blaming their parents. So they just had it passed down. And so we just do our best to get better with every generation and try to get closer together through the power of forgiveness. So I forgive my dad of being the debt of being my father. I forgive my mother the debt of being the mother that I think that everyone gets and has and would be just the most perfect person that we, you know, could get along perfectly all the time. It's like, that's not what we needed for each other. We probably chose to be together in this life so we would have very similar personalities and butt heads. I mean, there was a purpose to it. And we both get exhausted with it. And, you know, it's just, we do our best. And, you know, you forgive your siblings of the debt that you think that they had to be a certain way. Forgive your boss for not being the perfect boss. You know, everyone is just a person that is basically shells of defense mechanisms that are trying to protect a terrified, suffering child within them who's been traumatized in some way. And so until we can go back and like in this, you know, like a subconscious state and literally rescue that child and start to heal it, then you're always kind of reacting according to the programming that your subconscious picked up at that time. And so when you're thinking, oh wow, I'm just starting to become aware of this, and like nobody else is, like, my God, no wonder everyone's like at each other's throats and like snapping and like going off and like going crazy. I've seen videos of these Karen gone wilds that I'm like pretty sure these people are possessed by the demon. And I'm not kidding. Like, it's a demonic level of like extra that these Karens are inviting in, and it is like these entities feed on negativity. They feed on fear, they feed on reactivity, they feed on scarcity, they feed on jealousy, spitefulness, gossip. They feed on, ooh, I'm so worried about, you know, getting sick, or, oh, what about 5G? Like, the fact that you're being so gripped and, like, bothered by it and, like, obsessed over it, that is feeding the chaos. So calm down. Forgive. Wipe the slate clean. Forgive the people that are not super close to you first as practice. So if you can start forgiving people more freely for small things, and I mean, you don't have to go up to them and be like, I forgive you. You can just keep it to yourself. But like, just don't hold it against them. Let's start letting go of all these scorecards that you keep with people. And I know that y'all do this because I used to do it too, but I would get caught up in like on these dramas in my mind, like dress rehearsing arguments that never happened. And I didn't even have to like get worked up and buck. And like, by the time I do see the person, I'm like, well, I don't, it's like they're just there to have fun. I have no idea what happened between us in my imagination that I'm so spiteful over. So yeah, we're all insane. Like, we're crazy and insane lunatics. So we need to start like letting each other off the hook. So practice with the people that maybe don't trigger you with the most visceral pain, like your family, or, you know, maybe like work up to like forgiving the parents and the lovers and the wayward siblings and all that. Maybe start with the people in your life that are just general maintenance, like easy. You don't care about them too much. They don't, you know, get you all gripped with like, well, there's so much baggage there behind everything that you do now. Just practice with the easy people. Okay. So we're forgiving people of the debt of being this archetypal idea that we have projected our fantasies and expectations onto them. We need to forgive them of that, and we need to ask them spiritually to forgive us for having put so much expectation on them in the first place. It's like we were violating their right to be them. Free spirit. Just be themselves. Okay, so forgiveness. We've talked about forgiving people of the debt of the role that they play. We have talked about the general energy of it that holds you down. I mean, like, bad, hard feelings in your system are toxic. They are toxic. You can actually get sepsis or tumors or general ailments. Like, they will make you sick. So it's best to let go. They'll start creating chaos in your life. You'll start having like just irritable nuisances all the time. And the longer you don't forgive, the cycle of this wound, this experience will keep repeating with like different people and manifesting in different ways, because it's literally that wound that won't heal until you heal it. So it's coming up again and again and again until you finally do the work to dive in, to face whatever it is. And if you need to get a therapist, if it's something serious, get it. Don't do this alone. Everybody needs to have a buddy in this process. Reach out to people. Don't isolate yourself. But yeah, be willing to go there so that you can work on getting it out of you. I had just had a couple of videos about transmuting energy, transmuting that dark energy, so that sadness into something else. You can go back and watch those for how to get in there and do that. But yeah, so where are we? Forgiveness is more than saying sorry. I feel like there was another point that I was on. Oh, that it does make you sick. It does hold you back. It closes down opportunities and creates chaos in your life. And then I also wanted to go into another story that's separate. And this is just a moment where you realize that what we do, like, everyone is connected, and so we can't isolate the people that we have hard feelings towards without it affecting other people around us and having, like, it's like bleeding out into the other areas of your life, right? But this is how connected we are. So when I was in high school, I went on a European trip to a bunch of different countries. But when we were in Germany, we went to the concentration camp Dachau. And just thinking about it has made me upset multiple times today. Not upset, but like I can feel viscerally the feeling of being there. And it's because I opened my heart, just thinking about all this today. And so it's open now. But I remember going to Dachau, and I didn't know I was an empath, I knew I was had gifts and stuff, but I was closed off to them at the time because of the things that I would see as a child, the ability that I had to see psychically or whatever. And it was just too scary. So I shut a lot of it down, and was just trying to be spiritual or whatever, but I didn't want to see the visions. So I'm at Dachau, and it's I have so much emotion, but more than my classmates. It was just I could feel viscerally this vibration of heaviness and darkness and such magnitude of almost like a vortex. It was so powerful, the energy that was left there. I could feel the cold void mask that must have been taken on by the Nazis in order to suppress the terror that would cause such a horror in the first place. I could feel the suffering and the despair of the Jewish people, but the despair almost wasn't from the Jewish people. The despair was really from the Nazis. And the Jewish people, it was suffering, but it was something about it. It was different than despair. It was not resigned. It was hopeful and courageous and enduring and continuing. And I also felt the immense remorse and sorrow that it ever happened to begin with. And it was a life-changing experience. And every time I've ever heard stories about people, Jewish people who survived concentration camps and then went on to devote their life to the story and the study of forgiveness and the practice of it, trying to forgive the Nazis, trying to be able to open themselves up to living life fully and going on and moving forward again. It's incredible. It's the strength. So that made such an impact, and I never forgot the feeling of what it was like to be there. I also overheard something that was really profound and odd, and I don't even know if you can fact check this. And remember, this was I was 17. This was a long time ago. But I remember hearing someone say, because I kept seeing this old man who was just sitting there, he was standing by a doorway with his head down and just not doing anything, almost like a security guard, but he was just very shameful looking, or just frozen, just there. He's just there not doing anything. And I remembered hearing someone that was somehow new. I mean, they were there in an official capacity or something. I just vague, but I remember this precisely, that they were he comes here every day. He was a Nazi that worked here. And I just thought, whoa, because he never left that camp. He was a prisoner forever. And the Jews that survived it were set free. But they were really set free if they could forgive. And so I just thought, wow, he's there every day. That regret, I can't even imagine. It'd be easier to almost imagine being so cold and so turned off as a Nazi soldier that you go on and you're just whatever, I stand by what I said. But can you imagine the Nazi soldier that was there because he was peer pressured, because he didn't have the courage or the spine to stand up and die rather than do that, or run away or take his chances, escaping as a refugee, like I can't even imagine like what that would do to a person, but I could see it and I could feel it, and that was poignant in and of itself. And what's even crazier, not even just the fact that like I felt that moment so viscerally and I wasn't ever physically connected to it, maybe in a past life, and I do have Jewish DNA, so I'm connected to it in that way, but empathically, energetically, we're all connected in a spiritual level, at the most highest abstract formlessness version of ourselves. We're not separate at all, and so everything that we exude is gonna have an effect on everyone, and you can't target who gets affected by what. Oh, that's snot. Oh, my shirt. Yeah, and so what doubled down the feeling of connection to me was that at another point, fast forward from my teens into my 30s, like this would have been like a few years ago, within the last 10 years, a couple of long-term relationships ago, my boyfriend and I, Alex, were out in Colorado, and we were driving through the mountains, and we were listening to a book on tape, like maybe it was a CD, but we were listening, and it was called The Psychic Warrior, and it was actually read aloud by the man who wrote it. And the book was an autobiography of this man who was in the PSYOPs department of the CIA. And if you don't know what the PSYOPs are, those are the psychic warriors in the United States, like Secret Service. And they do these things called, these processes called remote viewing, where basically there's an observer who gives you like these whack coordinates that don't really mean anything. And then the person who's the receiver channels imagery and information, and basically they kind of like astrally project their consciousness to go do recon and through the astral realm. And it's like a science, like the military has figured out like step by step how to do it. You can look it up. It's like, for other psychic people, they're just like, yeah, it's, kind of accidentally do that all the time. But yeah, so remote viewing, this guy's describing like some of his training and the places that they were sending him to. And so he was just describing them in the way that the process he was going through when he was receiving these, like where like his spirit, her soul was kind of there. Like it was kind of like had traveled like astral projection style. And so he was kind of freaking out because one place that he went, he was like, well, okay, so I'll go back. I'll slow down. We're driving through the mountains, and I'm in this like hypnotic state. It's raining. I'm like taking pictures of like awesome rain on window and like mountain moody, like cloudy sky, and it's the best. And I'm feeling so relaxed. And we're listening to this story. And so he's getting to the part where he starts describing these places where he's remote viewing, but in these really vague ways. Like the first one, or one of the first ones, he was like, I see like steel and rusted metal. There's like a salt to the air. And I said, he's in the Baltic Sea. And he said, I'm in the Baltic Sea. And it was the Baltic Sea. And I was like, oh, okay, well that was a good guess. It was really random. And then like he kept going, and he got to one where he was like, ooh, this feels intense. Like this feels like a sacred place, and I'm not supposed to be here. And I was like, he is in the Ark of the Covenant, and he was in the Ark of the Covenant. And I was like, damn, I'm really on a roll. And then he says, the next place, he felt darker. Like it was the darkest, most saddest, most tragic despair he'd ever felt. And I said, he's in Dachau. And he was in Dachau. And so I just felt like what separates us is so little. And when you forgive, you are in the vibration of forgiveness, which means that it's not so much about wiping their slate clean as it is about wiping yours clean. And I think I'm going to end on that note because we're 25 minutes and felt complete and I've already cried. Wiped snot on my clothes. All right. That was something. Forgive.